Alright guys, welcome back to the garage. Wednesday evening, July the 22nd, I believe, 2020. And just having a quick look at the frame and having a quick look at the body tub, and did a quick examination of it to make sure that I didn't miss anything from last night as far as the light falling on the body tub was concerned. So I seem to have managed to come away unscathed from the light falling off of the ceiling, and it seemed to have missed everything critical on the car and only impacted the frame, which is obviously not yet painted or refinished, so no harm done. Anyway, let's have a little chat about my decision on the frame stripping. Alright guys, so we last left off having a discussion about what we were going to do as far as stripping the frame down. Obviously two options. There's the option of me doing it here in the garage, stripping it mechanically with, grinding abrasive discs or wire brushes, etc. That was option number one. Option number two is sending it out and having it media blasted or sandblasted professionally for about $300 or $400. And I think the professional sandblasting route is the direction I'm going to go. First of all, it'll yield a better product in the end for me to put paint on. There's nothing like a freshly blasted frame to work with. That's number one. Number two, if I was to work on this frame in the garage with mechanical means of stripping, it would create an awful lot of dust that would obviously migrate onto the body tub, even though it was covered or not. Still a lot of open areas on the bottom of the car where the dust would migrate in and stick to every panel in there, and it would look like crap after we were done stripping this frame mechanically in the garage. So I think for that reason, and the third reason is it would take a lot of time and effort on my behalf to actually sit in here and do this mechanically stripping, not only from a materials cost, wire brushes, flap discs, DA discs, etc., but my actual personal time has some value, I think. So I could get this done at an hour at a sandblasters. It would probably take me a couple of 2 or 3 days to actually strip this down by hand. It definitely wouldn't be as good as a freshly sandblasted frame. So I think we're going to break down and pay the money. I mentioned it'd probably be about $300 to $400 to get this professionally sandblasted. So I think we're going to break down. We'll give the sandblaster a call. We'll try to organize a time where we can get this frame up here. I'm going to have to borrow Les's trailer since my trailer is full of stuff. So we'll have to put it on Les's open trailer and take it up to the sandblasters in order to have that done. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave it at the sandblasters and go back and pick it up. It's too bad I couldn't wait for it, but they don't kind of work on that philosophy. So anyway, that's the decision on the frame. So we will try to get this out there possibly this weekend and probably get it back possibly by next Wednesday or Thursday. So it'll probably take a week for this to get done. So unfortunately, that's going to be a little bit of a delay in the project, but like I said, in the end, it was probably going to take me 2 to 3 days to get this stripped down anyway, and with the adverse side effects that I mentioned. So there's the decision made on the frame. So I guess what the question will be now is, what do I do in the meantime? Since I'm going to probably have a week of downtime waiting for this frame to come back, what do I actually work on? Well, I've still got a bunch of bins to go through and some small parts to refinish, so I can definitely do that to make the project move along a little quicker in the end. Fortunately, I have all of the suspension bits already stripped and painted, so front suspension's already done. All those components are done. I've got brand new bushing kits for the front. All of the rear suspension components are done as well. You see me do the axles. The brake back plates are done, etc., etc. The differential is done. The only thing I'm missing on the front of the car are rotors, brake rotors. I think I borrowed those from my TR6 before I went to St. Louis last year. I swapped them out, so I need to replace or reorder and replace the rotors for this car because I don't want to put old rusty ones back on. So I think that's the only thing that I'm missing as far as the chassis is concerned on this car. I do have brand new brake lines to run. I've got the new exhaust to run for it as well. Obviously the engine bits, I'm missing a few things that I need to order. So we're getting pretty close to the engine build. I can probably pull that out and start compiling the engine parts that I need from the parts that I have in the bins here, and I've got parts inside, brand new parts inside stored away, so I can probably start compiling those and bringing them up and setting them up on the table and figuring out what we need as far as missing parts are concerned. Again, as far as the engine build is concerned, I think I pretty much have everything. There's a few things that I need for the block specifically, like I think I need new oil gallery plugs, if I'm not mistaken, because the machine shop took them out and I don't think they gave them back to me. I'll have to go through the bins and check. Maybe a good idea to get new ones anyway. So as far as that's concerned, though, I think that's the only thing I need as far as the actual block is concerned. As mentioned, there are a few things I need for the head. I'm going to check the head as far as the seats are concerned. I may need to get either new seats, or I need to get the seats that are in the current head machined. To me, they look pretty good. They've got a few spots on them that might actually grind out okay, so I may not need to get new seats, but I'll have to take it to the machine shop in order for them to tell me that or not. So that's another thing I need to dig out, is the head, and get it up to the shop for them to check that out on my behalf. So there are things I can do while this frame is away being sandblasted, so we'll endeavor to do those things. So I think that's it for tonight, guys. I think all I'll do for the rest of the night is cover this up, cover the body tub up at least, and tuck it away safely for a little period of time until we can get back to it. We have got this overspray material, this big plastic sheeting, so we're going to put the overspray plastic over top of it first, and then we're going to cover it with an actual car cover to keep it safe. So say goodbye to the body tub for who knows how long, but it's going to be a number of weeks before we get back to it. So bye-bye body tub. Sleep soundly. Alright guys, welcome back. Now Friday afternoon, and back on the TR250 project. And not much success on sandblasting. I've called my two local guys, and they're not exactly local. One is over an hour away, the other one's about a half an hour away. And both of those guys are not available to do any work until next week, midweek. So Wednesday, Thursday next week. That is far too long for me to wait. And I'm a little bit impatient. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually attempt to strip this by hand. I actually have done some pre-work. I just had my DA out here and a little piece of 80 grit sandpaper on a block, and it's actually not bad. This car has been stripped previously, and it's been poorly painted, let's say. That's really why I wanted to actually get this back down to bare metal again, is put a fresh coat of paint on it. So I've done literally just about 20 minutes of work on the frame, and I'm able to get it down to bare metal pretty quickly. Done some work here, a little work here, a little work back up in here. So I don't think it's going to be overly difficult to strip this frame by hand. There is going to be, obviously, the inner rails are probably the toughest part, anywhere where there's an edge basically that you've got to get up in and inside. The flat bits are quite easy, so the bottom of the frame will be very easy. Top of the frame will be easy. The side rails are a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to see what I've got as far as flat discs and pads for the DA. Right now I think I've only got 80 grit, not 80 grit, 180 grit. So I'd probably be better off to go get some 80 grit just to get a little bit heavier scratch in this frame. I'm going to check to see what I've got for wire brushes. So I'm going to pull out basically everything I've got and then make a decision whether I should go ahead and go for it, or whether I should go ahead and pick up some more materials to be able to do this. Anyway, like I said, Wednesday, Thursday next week, I can probably get this frame stripped in maybe a day or two based on what I see here. And I think what I can probably do as well, I'm a little concerned about stripping this in the garage, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move it out into the driveway so all my neighbors can watch me and listen to me. And it won't be any different about the guy who's still working on his pool after about a month. They had a water truck out here at 6:30 this morning idling, filling up his pool. So anyway, I won't get out here until 9 o'clock and start grinding. We'll go 9 to 9, so that's not too bad. Anyway, so let's start working on that. We'll reposition the frame, move the cars out of the driveway. I have decided that if I do need to do a little bit of sandblasting on the front of the frame, I can actually do a little bit to get into the nooks and crannies that I can't get with the brushes or the grinders. So I may do a little bit of bucket blasting on the front of this frame in the driveway. Just some, I got one bucket I think of media that I can use up. I got my small little blasting gun there, my hand blasting gun that I could probably use as well, just to get some of the really tight areas cleaned up. So, alright, wish me luck. It's going to be a little bit of work, and it's going to be hot work because it's supposed to be, again, extremely hot here over the weekend, but hey, at least I'll be saving some money. Well, seems like I have a pretty good selection of wire brushes to choose from. Everything from cup brushes to regular style brushes. So angle grinder mounted. And I'm getting into drill mounted or die grinder mounted. So yeah, a bit of money there in brushes. Well, let's put them to good use. I've got a lot of flap discs over here I can use up as well. And I've got some other alternatives that I can use that I haven't even found yet that I know that I have, but I've got quite a bit of flap discs I can use. Another wire brush over there. And I'm sure I've got some other stuff in here. I got some little 3M grinding discs as well that can go on the die grinder. So I think what I'll do is move the frame outside. I've extended my air hose already so I can get it out into the driveway. I think I'll move the frame out and just put it across here this way and just keep the garage shut when I'm working on it. Not supposed to rain tomorrow. It possibly might rain on Sunday, so maybe we can get it done before Sunday rolls around. I can just leave it out here. Hope nobody needs a TR6 or TR250 frame overnight, and I will just leave it out there until Sunday. Alright guys, I think that's what the plan is, so time to get dirty, I guess. Wish me luck. Well, it's Friday night, just coming up to about 6:30, and I've asked Les to stop on his way home from work and give me a hand. But it's Friday night, and I think Les is probably having a few with his buddies tonight, so I can't wait any longer. So I'm going to attempt to move this frame by myself. Wish me luck. I think that should be okay there. Gives me enough room to work around it. Maybe I'll pull it back a little bit over here just to get it away from the trailer a little bit. Yeah, I'll get it up on jack stands, and that'll be good for a couple days. Alright, that should do the trick. Just probably move the truck out to the end of the driveway, and we'll break out the sanding and grinding and brushing paraphernalia. And we'll start going to town for a few hours until I can't do any more tonight. Probably throw the ball game on, see season opener for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight, so we'll get that on out in the garage and have a little sanding party. Alright, a quick before and after before we start working on it wholeheartedly. As mentioned, I've done this area here down to bare metal, and that was fairly easy. A few other areas here that I touched up. Blue Jays game's coming on, 6:30. So as mentioned, the front area where it's got some interesting tight areas to get to, I may break out the sandblaster for this area. But we'll do as much as we can with a wire brush before we get to that point. I don't want to make too much of a mess out here. So there you go. There's the before picture, and we'll come back probably tomorrow and hopefully give you, well, we'll probably give you a few shots along the way. Wish me luck. Alright, just thought I'd give you a quick update about 8 p.m. and it's looking pretty good. It's coming up pretty nicely. We've got the left-hand side outside rails of the chassis done already. So those are pretty easy. It's the inside, obviously, it's the difficult part. We've got part of the passenger side of the frame done as well. So that's looking pretty good. Pretty shiny metal. There's the difference there. So what we're using, which seems to be working well, are these little nylon stripping discs. It's about a 40 grit equivalent. So that's doing a good job without marking up the metal, just stripping the paint. So we'll continue on. Les was supposed to show up and work on the passenger side while I worked on the driver's side, but I think he must have fallen asleep. Saturday, July 25th, 2020, just coming up to about 8 a.m. So I'm going to take advantage of them making noise over there to make some noise over here. I wasn't going to start till 9 o'clock, but if he's out there with a bobcat, what the heck? So I'm going to wheel this back outside. We put it inside overnight just to keep it from getting any condensation on it and surface rusting. So we got a pretty good start on it yesterday. We're hoping to finish it today and possibly get it into paint. I'm going to get it outside and flip it over. Most of the top side is done. We still have to do the inner rails and the bottom. So we're going to flip it over and do the bottom first, which will be the easy part. And we'll also try to attack the inner rails a little bit as well, from the bottom and from the top. So let's wheel it out, we'll set it up, and we'll get going. Got to move some vehicles first. Alright guys, I thought I'd give you a quick look of the bottom side before we start work on it. Doesn't look too bad actually. Let's see where this diff mounts have been boxed in. It's actually boxed in this rear diff carrier as well. There's not normally, it's normally an open channel, so he's boxed that in as well. It's also a box section in between the two front mounts, as well as the sides are boxed, and there's a little bit of extra stiffening on the outside of the mounts. So that looks good. Alright, the bottom side shouldn't be too hard to clean up. So let's get to it before it gets too hot out here. It's supposed to be 90-ish today, so out in the full sun. Normally I'm used to working in the shade of the garage, so we'll get this done sooner than later, I hope. Alright guys, the top of the bottom rails of the frame's been done, and they look pretty good. So on to the fiddly bits, which are the inner rails. I've done some work with the angle grinder already, and we're going to go back and clean it up with a 3M stripping disc on a drill now. I've got this double stripping disc that we're going to try to use on that. Let's see if you can see that a little bit better. So that's what we're going to use on the inner frame rails. Wish me luck. Still lots of work ahead. The fiddly bits are the hardest bits. Alright guys, just coming up to 3 p.m. and it's darn hot out here. Tomorrow is supposed to be worse. It's supposed to be 108 tomorrow with the humidity. So we're on to the hand sanding phase. There's some areas where I want to hand sand, so I've got some 80 grit, and we're just going to rough up some of these areas that are hard to get a grinder in or a wire brush. So we're almost done with the sanding. Probably another hour or so. Still have quite a bit to do up here at the front where it's kind of tough to get in these areas. We'll probably get the wire brush on an angle grinder to get some of this off, and the rest we'll just hand sand. But other than that, it looks pretty good. So we're getting pretty close to getting the paint out. So we'll continue on, and hopefully we'll be able to get this into paint soon. And by soon, maybe tonight, but we'll see. See how the rest of it goes. Alright guys, I think we're going to call that good enough. I've managed to scratch everything down pretty well. Even if I couldn't get all of the paint off, at least I've scratched up. The paint will stick to it. For example, up the front here, I've done a little bit of wire brushing. There's a little bit of overspray from when I was doing the engine bay, but that's all been roughed up with a wire brush or with a red Scotch-Brite. So that paint should stick there no problem. We do need to still go down and wipe this down with alcohol or grease and wax remover. So we'll probably do that, and then I'm going to devise a way to be able to spray this, I think in the driveway, or maybe just on the edge of the grass. And I think I'm going to suspend it from my engine hoist so I can get to both sides of it and to the bottom edge of it by making a plate that will bolt actually to the outriggers, and then I can drill a hole in to hang it so it hangs vertically. So we'll see how that works out. At least I won't have to paint one side, wait for it to dry, and then flip it and do the other side. I prefer to do it in one shot if possible. So I think that's what the plan is. We'll try to mock something up that'll work to hold the frame temporarily. Just suspend it so I can get to both sides and the bottom of it. So anyway, I think we'll paint it probably over here. Should be okay, I think. I don't believe there's going to be a lot of overspray. You're probably all interested to know what I'm going to paint this with. I'm actually just going to paint it with Tremclad rust paint with some acetone to thin it and a little bit of hardener in it. So anyway, that's worked for me in the past on a couple of the frames I've done. So I know a few other guys use it and swear by it. It's not the most expensive thing on the market, but I think it will be good. The good thing about that is it's not only a cheap product, well, it's relatively cheap. It's about 20 bucks for that can over there, but it's easily repairable. So if I run into an area where I need to repaint it or it gets any abrasions, it's easily touched up with the rust paint. So that's what we're going to do. Tremclad, acetone, and hardener in the HVLP gun outdoors. Alright, here's the frame hanger using my Oberg tilt lift from my engine bolted to the chassis, and I can actually level the chassis with the tilting mechanism of the engine hoist. So the only thing I'm a little worried about is not worried about the frame falling, just worried about overspray because it's pretty windy out. So I think I might actually relocate this to the garage and risk the overspray in the garage. I'll put a couple of fans out the front, so it shouldn't be too bad. I'll put another, I already got two covers on top of the car, I'll put another tarp on top of the car, and that should protect it. If I put a couple of fans out, I don't think I'm going to get too much overspray in there. So it's not like it's clear coat or anything like that, so just rust paint. I think we'll do that. We'll relocate it to the garage. That way I can leave it in there overnight, suspended if need be, or at least maybe still attached to the crane, but just resting on the bottom after I get it painted. So, all right, guys, I think that's what we're going to do. I'm not sure if this is take 2 or take 3, but we've decided to move the frame into the garage and put it up on some metal sawhorses. Makes me feel a little bit more comfortable spraying in the garage versus out in the driveway. Keep out of the prying eyes of the neighbors. And should be able to do most of the frame with the exception where the sawhorse are hitting the bottom of the frame, so I can always go back and touch those two areas up. I think the last time I did a frame up in the sawhorses, I actually balanced the frame on some sockets to keep it up from the bottoms of the sawhorses, and I just had these two little round areas that I had to touch up, but I think I'll just leave it as it is. It's a little more stable with it sitting flat, and we'll spray it as is. So you can pretty much get to the top and the bottom for most areas, and like I said, we'll just go back and touch up these two areas later. So covered the 250 up again with another cover of tarps. So that's the third layer of tarps on the so I've got some poly plastic, the sheeting for the overspray. Then we've got a car cover, and now we've got a tarp over top. I've tried to bring it down to the bottom of the floor so I don't get too much overspray underneath the car. Again, the car needs to be sanded anyway, so it's not really that much of a big deal if I do get a bit of overspray, because the whole car needs to be sanded again, wet sanded and buffed. So if I do happen to get a tiny bit of overspray, that's fine. The bottom of the car is black anyway, and I'm spraying black, so no big deal there. You'll never see any overspray on the bottom of the car. So we'll take the chance and we'll spray in the garage. So it's about 6:30 probably or so, and I don't know, it's awfully hot out here. It's 90 degrees. Humidity is saying it's low, but I'll have to check the actual humidity on the weather channel and see whether I should bother trying to spray a coat tonight. So we'll come back. Maybe it'll be black tonight and maybe it won't. I'm not too concerned about bugs, although I would like to spray before the bugs get too bad. So let me think about it, and we'll come back after I cool down. Alright guys, just mixing up our paint. So we're going 5 parts Tremclad, 2 parts acetone, and half part of hardener. So here's the frame ready to go. This is the last time you'll see it stripped. Next time you see it, it'll be black. So here we go. Wish me luck. Alright guys, long day today. It's just coming up to 9 p.m. and we've got the first coat of paint on. And it looks pretty good. We are going to wait 24 hours actually before we can spray the next coat. Now, I did not do the bottom of the frame yet, so the frame will need to be flipped over and I'll have to wait again, obviously, for this to dry another 24 hours. So it's going to be a long process to get this frame completely painted. I see a few spots that are a little light on paint, like over there, for example, and I think I saw a spot up in here. So there will be a few areas I need to hit again for sure, but it looks pretty good at first glance. Again, it's pretty dark out in the garage right now, so I'll wait and I'll make a better assessment in the morning when it's a little sunnier outside and I can see a bit more. So, but at first glance it looks pretty good. It looks much better than it did, that's for sure. Anyway, I think that's it for now. We'll get back out here tomorrow. I did use that full quart of black for the top side of this frame. So we'll have to pick up some more. I do have a little bit more in the cupboard, but not enough to do another coat of paint. So 20 bucks for the quart of Tremclad. So like I said, we'll pick up another one tomorrow. All right, that's it for tonight, guys. We'll get back out here tomorrow. And like I said, we'll probably put another coat on this. Probably check it around 5 o'clock or so. And it's going to be pretty hot in the garage overnight. So I would say that we're pretty good to spray this about 5 o'clock tomorrow. It is still almost, well, probably 85-ish, 86-ish out here. And it's supposed to, like I said, be a very hot one tomorrow. So anyway, that's it for tonight. We'll get back out here tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Alright guys, now Sunday afternoon. We've got the frame flipped over and just cleaned down with alcohol. And it's looking good. So we're just getting ready to spray the final coat of black on the bottom. Probably 2 coats. We'll do one quick coat and then we'll come back about 20 minutes later and do a heavier coat. And then we'll let this dry for 24 hours and that should be it as far as the frame is concerned. Top side's looking really good. Alright, it is awfully hot in the garage. It is 95-ish. It's about, according to the weather network, it's about 48% humidity, so fairly humid. Anyway, we'll get this done and out of the way, and then we'll bring it back in a little while. Probably later tonight once it's dried a bit. Alright guys, just coming up to about 6:30 on Sunday evening, and the frame is now officially painted. Just drying up nicely on the bottom side, and it's pretty much dried to the touch at the moment, but we won't be able to handle it until about the same time tomorrow night. So we'll just let it sit here up on its sawhorses until then, and then we'll safely move it after that. So it looks really good, painted up well. That's 2 coats here. That should be good to go. So next steps, I was talking about the engine build being next, but I think what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to do a bit of a chassis build. We'll get this into a rolling format so we can actually roll it in and out of the garage when I need the extra space. So I think I pretty much have everything to do that. So we'll drag out stuff out of storage. I've been doing that sort of over the past couple of days. I've kind of cleaned out the storage room upstairs in the house and got the parts needed, required to do this. I've kind of broken the parts down into categories upstairs, into engine, suspension, brakes, etc. So it should go back together a little bit easier. I do have all of the, I don't know if I've mentioned this already previously, but I do have all of the suspension components painted and ready to go. You've seen me do those in long ago videos, some of them fairly recent. I've got obviously the axles, sliding axles for the rear done. So those are done, the hubs are done, etc., etc. There's a few small parts that I need to finish painting, like the drive shaft, for example, didn't get done. But we'll figure that out along the way as we go. So hopefully we'll get this down tomorrow night, and then we'll be able to start working on it wholeheartedly on Tuesday, putting things back on the chassis. Alright guys, that's it for now. We'll upload this. Thanks for watching and commenting as always, and appreciate the support, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks again.